What if your destiny was written long before you ever took your first breath? Imagine discovering your entire life is guided by words spoken centuries ago. A prophecy whispers through time, shaping choices you haven't even made yet. Would you embrace it, or fight desperately to rewrite your own story? Fantasy worlds thrive on this tension between fate and free will. From hidden scrolls to ancient oracles, prophecy ignites powerful storytelling journeys. It pulls heroes forward while casting long shadows of doubt behind them. Every choice becomes heavier when the future seems already decided. The idea feels both magical and terrifying at the same time. Because if fate is real, how much control do you truly have? This question sits at the heart of countless unforgettable fantasy stories. Prophecies are more than predictions. They are engines that drive entire plots. They introduce mystery before the story even fully begins unfolding. A single cryptic sentence can spark wars, quests, and personal transformations. Audiences are drawn to the suspense hidden within every prophetic clue. We listen carefully, searching for meaning in every ambiguous word. Because prophecies rarely reveal everything clearly or immediately. Instead, they tease, confuse, and challenge both characters and viewers alike. This uncertainty creates a deep emotional connection with the unfolding narrative. You begin questioning not just what will happen, but how it happens. The journey becomes more important than the destination itself. And that journey is filled with unexpected twists shaped by prophecy. Sometimes, heroes rise because they believe in their foretold purpose. Other times, they resist, trying to escape a future they fear. This conflict adds layers of depth to every character involved. Suddenly, every action feels like it might confirm or break destiny. Prophecies make even small decisions feel incredibly significant and impactful. A simple choice could lead to triumph or devastating consequences. This constant tension keeps audiences emotionally invested from beginning to end. It's like watching a puzzle slowly reveal its hidden picture. Each moment offers a new piece, but never the full answer immediately. And that uncertainty is exactly what makes prophecy so compelling. It keeps you guessing, questioning, and eagerly anticipating what comes next. Fantasy writers use this tool to build suspense with incredible precision. They understand how deeply humans crave meaning and purpose in stories. Prophecies tap into that universal desire for understanding our place in the world. Even outside fantasy, we often wonder about our own future paths. That's why prophecy-driven stories feel so personal and relatable. They mirror our fears about the unknown and our hopes for greatness. You see yourself reflected in characters struggling against predetermined outcomes. Their journey becomes a reflection of your own internal questions. Are you in control, or simply following a path already chosen? This emotional connection transforms simple stories into unforgettable experiences. Prophecies become more than plot devices. They become philosophical questions. They challenge the very idea of destiny and personal freedom. And that challenge keeps audiences thinking long after the story ends. You start analyzing every detail, searching for hidden meanings. Was the prophecy inevitable or shaped by the character's own actions? This ambiguity is what gives fantasy stories their lasting power. They don't just entertain, they make you think deeply about life. And it all begins with a few mysterious, carefully chosen words. Words that echo through time, shaping events in ways no one expects. Words that can inspire hope or ignite fear in equal measure. In fantasy, prophecy is never just about predicting the future. It's about exploring the choices that lead us toward that future. And sometimes, those choices matter more than the prophecy itself. Because even a foretold destiny can be interpreted in different ways. That interpretation becomes the key to everything that follows next. So the question remains, as every great fantasy begins its journey, will fate control the hero, or will the hero redefine fate itself? Think about a young hero hearing a prophecy for the very first time. Their world shifts instantly, even if they don't fully understand it yet. Suddenly, ordinary life feels smaller compared to the looming destiny ahead. They might doubt it, laugh it off, or fear its implications deeply. But the seed has been planted, and it cannot be ignored. This moment often marks the true beginning of their transformation journey. Prophecies don't just predict events, they change how characters perceive reality. A farmer becomes a chosen one, burdened with impossible expectations. A princess becomes a key figure in a world-altering conflict. These shifts create powerful emotional stakes that drive the narrative forward. You watch characters struggle to reconcile who they are with who they must become. That internal conflict is where storytelling truly comes alive, because it reflects something deeply human within all of us. We've all faced moments where our future felt uncertain or overwhelming. Prophecies amplify that feeling, turning it into something epic and dramatic. They force characters to confront their fears and limitations head on, and often, the prophecy itself is frustratingly vague or incomplete. It might speak in riddles, metaphors, or symbolic imagery. This forces characters to interpret its meaning through their own perspectives, and those interpretations can lead to very different paths. One character might see hope, while another sees inevitable destruction. This difference in perception creates tension between allies and enemies alike. It's not just about what the prophecy says, but how it's understood. This complexity adds richness to the story's unfolding events. Consider how many conflicts arise from misunderstood prophecies. Wars have been started because someone believed they were destined to win. Relationships have been broken because someone feared a foretold betrayal. Prophecies can unite people, but they can also tear them apart. This dual nature makes them one of the most versatile storytelling tools. They can inspire courage or trigger paranoia, depending on interpretation. And that unpredictability keeps audiences fully engaged throughout the story. You begin to question every character's motivations and decisions carefully. Are they acting freely or being influenced by the prophecy's shadow? This question adds another layer of intrigue to every scene. It keeps the audience actively thinking instead of passively watching events unfold. And that engagement is what makes stories truly memorable and impactful. Writers often use prophecy to foreshadow future events subtly. Clues are hidden in plain sight, waiting to be discovered later. When those moments finally arrive, everything clicks into place beautifully. It creates a sense of satisfaction that rewards attentive viewers. You realize the story was guiding you all along, just like the prophecy. This connection between audience and narrative deepens the overall experience. It makes you feel like part of the journey itself. And that feeling is incredibly powerful in storytelling because it transforms passive entertainment into active emotional involvement. You're not just watching the story, you're living it alongside the characters. Every twist feels personal, every revelation hits harder. Prophecies help create that immersive connection between audience and narrative. They act as threads weaving together different parts of the story. Past, present, and future all become interconnected through prophetic words. This creates a sense of unity and purpose within the narrative structure. Everything feels intentional, even when chaos seems to dominate events. And that balance between order and chaos is deeply satisfying. It mirrors the unpredictability of real life in a meaningful way. You start seeing patterns, connections, and possibilities everywhere. Just like the characters, you're trying to decode the future. That shared experience strengthens your emotional investment in the story, and it keeps you coming back for more, eager to uncover the truth. Because somewhere within the mystery lies a deeper understanding of everything. And that understanding is what every great fantasy story ultimately delivers. But what if prophecies aren't as reliable as they first appear? What if the future they predict is shaped by belief itself? This is where fantasy stories introduce their most fascinating twist. Prophecies might not just predict the future, they might create it. Characters who believe in a prophecy often act in ways that fulfill it. Their choices, driven by belief, bring the prediction to life. This creates a powerful cycle of cause and effect within the story. The prophecy influences action, and those actions confirm the prophecy. It becomes difficult to separate destiny from self-fulfilling behavior. This idea adds a profound layer of psychological depth to the narrative. Suddenly, the question isn't just about fate versus free will. It's about how belief shapes reality itself in unexpected ways. Characters might unknowingly trap themselves within the prophecy's framework. By trying to avoid it, they might actually ensure its fulfillment. This paradox creates some of the most memorable moments in fantasy storytelling. It keeps audiences constantly reevaluating what they think they understand. You begin to question whether the prophecy was ever truly fixed, or if it was always flexible, shaped by interpretation and action. This uncertainty adds a thrilling unpredictability to the narrative. Even when you think you know what's coming, surprises still emerge. Writers use this twist to subvert expectations and keep stories fresh. They challenge the audience to think beyond simple cause and effect relationships. And that challenge makes the story more intellectually engaging. It invites deeper reflection on themes of destiny, choice, and responsibility. Because if belief can shape reality, then choices carry even greater weight. Characters are no longer just following a path, they are creating it. This realization can be empowering or terrifying, depending on perspective. Some embrace the power to shape their own destiny. Others feel overwhelmed by the responsibility of their choices. This emotional complexity adds richness to character development. It transforms them from passive participants into active creators of their fate. And that transformation is deeply satisfying to witness, because it reflects a fundamental truth about human experience. We are all influenced by beliefs, expectations, and perceived possibilities. Fantasy stories simply magnify this truth through the lens of prophecy. They show us how powerful ideas can shape entire worlds, and they remind us that the future is rarely as fixed as it seems. Even the most detailed prophecy can be interpreted in countless ways. This flexibility allows for creative storytelling and unexpected outcomes. It keeps the narrative dynamic and full of surprises. Audiences are constantly challenged to rethink their assumptions, and that keeps them engaged from beginning to end. The best fantasy stories use prophecy as a tool for exploration, not just of the future, but of human nature itself. They explore how people respond to the idea of predetermined destiny. Do they accept it, resist it, or try to manipulate it? Each response reveals something deeper about the character's identity. And that depth is what makes stories truly memorable, because it goes beyond plot and into the realm of meaning. Prophecies become symbols of our own struggles with uncertainty. They reflect our desire for control in an unpredictable world, and they challenge us to consider what truly shapes our future. Is it fate, choice, or something in between? This question lingers long after the story has ended. It invites ongoing reflection and discussion among audiences, and that is the mark of truly impactful storytelling. A story that stays with you, challenging your perspective. Prophecies, when used effectively, achieve exactly that. They transform simple narratives into profound explorations of life itself, and they leave us wondering about the nature of our own destiny. So where does this leave us in understanding fantasy prophecies? They are not just storytelling devices. They are reflections of human curiosity. They explore our deepest questions about fate, choice, and personal meaning, and they do so in ways that captivate and inspire audiences. Prophecies remind us that the future is never entirely certain. Even when it seems written, there is always room for interpretation. That uncertainty is where true power lies within every story, because it gives characters the opportunity to grow and evolve. They are not bound by destiny. They are shaped by their responses. And that idea is incredibly empowering for audiences as well. It suggests that we too have the power to shape our lives, even when circumstances seem beyond our control. Fantasy stories use prophecy to deliver this powerful message subtly. They entertain us while also encouraging deeper reflection. And that combination is what makes them so enduringly popular. You walk away not just entertained, but inspired to think differently, inspired to question the narratives you believe about your own future. Because just like in fantasy, those narratives influence your choices, and your choices ultimately shape the path you take. This connection between story and reality is what makes prophecy so compelling. It bridges the gap between imagination and real-life experience. It turns fictional worlds into mirrors of our own lives. And in those reflections, we find meaning and inspiration. So the next time you encounter a prophecy in a story, pay attention. Look beyond the surface and consider what it truly represents. Is it a fixed destiny or a reflection of belief and choice? How do the characters respond, and what does that reveal? These questions will deepen your appreciation of the narrative, and they will make the story far more engaging and meaningful, because you are no longer just observing, you are analyzing and connecting. That active engagement transforms the entire viewing experience. It makes every moment more impactful and memorable, and it allows you to uncover layers of meaning you might have missed. This is the true power of prophecy and fantasy storytelling. It invites curiosity, reflection, and emotional investment all at once. And that invitation is something every great story offers its audience. But here's the real question you should take with you today. What prophecies, real or imagined, are shaping your own life? Are they empowering you or holding you back from your potential? And most importantly, how are you choosing to respond to them? Because in the end, your response defines your journey. Just like the heroes in the stories you love, their greatness comes not from destiny, but from their choices. And the same can be true for you. You have the ability to question, adapt, and redefine your path. No prophecy, no matter how powerful, can take that away. That is the ultimate lesson hidden within these fantasy narratives. It's not about predicting the future, it's about creating it. One decision at a time, one step after another. So embrace the uncertainty, just like the heroes do. See it not as a limitation, but as an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to evolve. Because the unknown is where true transformation begins, and every great story starts with stepping into that unknown. So take that step, whatever it may look like for you. Trust your ability to navigate whatever comes next. And remember that your story is still being written. Every choice you make adds a new chapter to your journey. Make it one worth telling, one worth remembering, because in the end, you are the author of your own destiny. As fantasy stories evolved, prophecies began taking on more complex narrative roles. Early tales often treated prophecies as absolute truths that never failed. Heroes followed them, villains feared them, and outcomes seemed predetermined. But modern storytelling started questioning that rigid sense of destiny. Writers began exploring what happens when prophecies are incomplete or misleading. Suddenly, the certainty that once defined them started to disappear. This shift made stories feel more unpredictable and emotionally engaging. Audiences could no longer rely on prophecy as a guaranteed roadmap. Instead, it became a puzzle filled with uncertainty and hidden meaning. This transformation added a new layer of depth to fantasy narratives. Prophecies became less about answers and more about questions. They invited interpretation rather than blind acceptance of fate. Characters now had to think critically instead of simply obeying destiny. This change made them feel more human and relatable to audiences. Because in real life, nothing is ever completely certain or clear. We all face situations where the future feels open and unpredictable. Modern fantasy reflects this reality through its evolving use of prophecy. It shows that even destiny can be shaped by perspective and choice. This idea resonates deeply with contemporary audiences seeking meaningful stories. It aligns with a growing desire for complexity over simplicity in storytelling. Writers now use prophecy to challenge expectations instead of confirming them. They introduce contradictions, twists, and unexpected outcomes. This keeps the audience constantly guessing and emotionally invested. You're never entirely sure what the prophecy truly means anymore, and that uncertainty becomes a central part of the experience. Some stories even present multiple prophecies that conflict with each other. Characters must decide which one to believe, if any at all. This creates intense internal and external conflicts throughout the narrative. It forces characters to rely on their judgment rather than blind faith. And that reliance becomes a defining aspect of their journey. In some cases, prophecies are revealed to be intentionally manipulated. Powerful figures might alter or control them for their own benefit. This introduces themes of power, control, and misinformation into the story. It reflects real-world concerns about truth and authority. Fantasy becomes a lens through which we explore deeper societal questions. Prophecies are no longer sacred. They are tools that can be questioned. This shift empowers both characters and audiences to think critically. It encourages skepticism rather than blind belief in predetermined outcomes. And that skepticism leads to richer, more layered storytelling, because every possibility remains open until the very end. This openness creates space for surprising and meaningful conclusions. It allows stories to evolve organically rather than follow fixed paths. Characters can grow beyond what was originally foretold. They can redefine their roles and challenge the expectations placed upon them. This evolution mirrors changes in how we view destiny in real life. We increasingly see the future as something we shape, not inherit. Modern fantasy embraces this perspective through its use of prophecy. It transforms an ancient concept into a dynamic storytelling device, one that adapts to the needs of both the narrative and the audience. This adaptability ensures that prophecy remains relevant across generations. It continues to captivate, challenge, and inspire new audiences. And it keeps fantasy stories fresh, even when using familiar themes, because the meaning of prophecy is never truly fixed. It evolves alongside the stories that bring it to life, and with each new interpretation, it gains deeper significance. This ongoing evolution is what keeps fantasy storytelling alive and exciting. It ensures that even the oldest ideas can feel new again. Prophecies are a perfect example of this creative transformation. They prove that storytelling is always changing, always growing, and that growth is what makes fantasy such a powerful genre. What if the prophecy you trust was never meant to guide you at all? What if it was carefully designed to control your every decision? In many fantasy worlds, prophecies are not innocent predictions of fate. They are often tools crafted by those who seek power and influence. This idea completely reshapes how we view destiny in storytelling. Suddenly, prophecy becomes less about truth and more about manipulation. Characters begin to realize they might be playing into someone else's plan. Every word of the prophecy starts to feel suspicious and calculated. This creates a constant sense of paranoia within the narrative. Heroes no longer trust even the most sacred predictions of their world. They question who created the prophecy and for what purpose. And that question opens the door to deeper mysteries and conspiracies. Some prophecies are revealed to be deliberately misinterpreted over time. Ancient texts may have been altered to serve hidden agendas. This turns prophecy into a weapon disguised as wisdom. And that weapon can shape entire kingdoms and civilizations. Characters who once followed destiny now feel betrayed by it. Their journey becomes a struggle to uncover hidden truths. Every clue they discover raises more questions than answers. This uncertainty keeps tension high throughout the story. The audience begins to doubt everything they thought they understood. Even the prophecy itself becomes an unreliable source of truth. This narrative shift adds layers of psychological depth to fantasy stories. It transforms prophecy from guidance into a dangerous illusion. Characters must now decide whether to reject or reinterpret it. That decision often defines their entire arc within the story. Some choose to destroy the prophecy entirely to break its influence. Others attempt to rewrite its meaning to suit their own path. Both choices carry significant consequences for the world around them, because prophecies often hold political or magical power over reality. Removing or altering them can destabilize entire systems of belief. This raises the stakes far beyond personal destiny alone. Now, entire societies are affected by the truth or deception of prophecy. Leaders may use prophecies to justify wars or maintain control. Religions may build their entire foundations upon prophetic texts, and when those texts are questioned, chaos often follows. This reflects how powerful beliefs can shape collective behavior. Fantasy uses prophecy to explore the dangers of blind faith. It shows how easily truth can be twisted into control, and how difficult it is to separate reality from manipulation. Characters caught in prophecy often struggle with identity crises. Are they acting on their own will or fulfilling someone else's script? This internal conflict adds emotional weight to their journey. It makes their struggles feel deeply personal and psychologically complex. The prophecy becomes a mirror reflecting their fears and doubts. And through that mirror, they begin to discover their true selves. Some characters break free by rejecting the prophecy entirely. Others redefine it in ways no one ever expected. Both outcomes challenge the idea that destiny is fixed or absolute. Instead, prophecy becomes a flexible concept, shaped by human action. This flexibility is what makes it such a powerful storytelling device. It allows writers to explore freedom within the illusion of fate, and it keeps audiences constantly questioning what is real. Every revelation feels like another layer being peeled away. until the truth is no longer about prophecy itself, but about those who believed in it and acted upon it. This shift turns prophecy into a story about perception and control, and that makes it far more dangerous than simple prediction, because belief, once planted, can shape entire worlds. And in fantasy, that belief is often the greatest power of all. Long before modern science, the reef was already alive beneath the sea. Indigenous peoples of Australia knew the reef long before written history existed. They navigated nearby waters with deep respect for marine ecosystems around them. Their understanding of ocean life came from generations of careful observation. Stories passed through time describe the sea as a powerful, living world. These early connections shaped how humans interacted with the reef for centuries. European explorers later encountered the reef during long ocean voyages outward. In 1770, Captain James Cook documented parts of the Great Barrier Reef. His ship famously ran aground on its hidden coral structures unexpectedly. That moment revealed the reef's vast scale to the outside world. Early explorers were both fascinated and challenged by its dangerous beauty. Maps slowly began to include this massive underwater structure over time. Scientists soon realized the reef was far larger than initially imagined. Expeditions increased as curiosity about marine ecosystems grew globally among researchers. Early studies focused on understanding coral formation and marine biodiversity patterns. Divers used basic equipment compared to today's advanced underwater technology tools. Even then, they described the reef as overwhelming and extraordinary to witness. Photographs later helped bring the reef's beauty to global attention widely. Images revealed colors and life forms few people had ever seen before. Public fascination with the reef grew rapidly during the 20th century. Tourism began to develop around its most accessible and vibrant sections. Boats started carrying visitors eager to experience underwater exploration firsthand directly. The reef became one of the most famous natural wonders on Earth. Scientists established research stations to study coral ecosystems in greater detail. These stations became hubs for marine biology and environmental science research globally. Each discovery deepened understanding of ocean ecosystems and their complex relationships. Over time, the reef transformed from mystery into scientific treasure trove. Yet even today, much of it remains unexplored and scientifically unknown. Advances in diving technology allow deeper and longer underwater exploration missions. Submersibles now reach areas once impossible for humans to safely access. These innovations continue to reveal hidden ecosystems within reef structures daily. Every expedition uncovers surprising species and behaviors previously undocumented in science. The reef constantly challenges human assumptions about marine life complexity globally. Its discovery story is still unfolding even in modern scientific era. Today, researchers collaborate across countries to study reef systems collectively worldwide. International cooperation has become essential for understanding such vast ecosystems properly. Data sharing allows scientists to track changes across different reef regions. This global effort reflects the reef's importance beyond national boundaries alone. Human connection to the reef continues evolving with growing environmental awareness. Many people now see it as more than just a tourist attraction. It represents a living system that requires protection and respect globally. Educational programs encourage deeper appreciation of marine ecosystems among students today. Virtual reality experiences now allow people to explore reefs digitally worldwide. These tools bring underwater environments to those unable to visit physically. Such experiences help spread awareness of ocean conservation across generations globally. Artists and filmmakers also draw inspiration from the reef's natural beauty. Documentaries showcase its wonders to millions of viewers around the world. These visual stories strengthen emotional connections between people and oceans deeply. Human fascination with the reef continues to grow stronger over time. Yet fascination must be paired with responsibility toward environmental protection efforts. Exploration has shifted from discovery to conservation-focused research in recent decades. Scientists now prioritize understanding how to preserve rather than simply observe. This shift marks a new chapter in human interaction with reefs. The reef story reflects humanity's evolving relationship with nature itself. From discovery to exploitation to conservation, the journey has been complex. Today, we stand at a moment of reflection and responsibility together. The reef reminds us what we gain through exploration and understanding. It also warns us about what we risk through neglect and ignorance. Human history and reef history are now deeply intertwined. In many fantasy stories, the greatest moment is when prophecy finally breaks. That moment arrives when characters refuse to follow its predicted path. It feels like the entire world holds its breath in anticipation. Because breaking prophecy is never simple, easy, or without consequence. It often demands sacrifice, courage, and unwavering belief in oneself. Characters must step into the unknown without any guarantee of success, and that uncertainty becomes a true test of their strength. The prophecy that once controlled their lives begins to lose its power, but breaking it is rarely as clean as they expect. Its influence often lingers like a shadow over every decision. Even when defied, prophecy can still shape outcomes in unexpected ways. This creates tension between freedom and lingering destiny. The hero discovers that escaping fate is not a single action. It is a continuous struggle against expectation and belief. Every step forward feels like rewriting reality itself. And that rewriting comes with both liberation and danger. Because once a prophecy is broken, balance in the world may shift. Forces tied to that prophecy may react unpredictably. Allies might turn uncertain, and enemies might become desperate. The world itself seems to resist the change in destiny. This resistance heightens the emotional stakes of the story. It shows that prophecy is deeply embedded in the world's structure, and breaking it means challenging the foundation of that structure. Characters begin to realize that destiny is not a single thread. It is a web of interconnected choices and consequences. Pulling one thread can unravel many others in unexpected ways. This realization transforms their understanding of the prophecy. It is no longer an unchangeable law, but a fragile construct. And fragile things can be reshaped or even destroyed. This gives the hero a sense of empowerment they never had before. But it also brings fear of what comes after the prophecy falls. Without prophecy, the future becomes completely uncertain and open. That freedom can be both liberating and terrifying at once, because certainty, even when limiting, provides comfort and structure. Breaking prophecy removes that structure entirely. Now characters must navigate a world without predetermined meaning. Every choice becomes fully their own responsibility. There is no longer any script to follow or resist. This shift forces deeper growth and self-awareness. Characters must define their identity without external guidance, and that process is often painful but transformative. They learn that destiny was never truly fixed to begin with. It was shaped by belief, action, and interpretation all along. Breaking prophecy reveals this hidden truth to both character and audience. It reframes everything that came before it in the story. Moments once seen as fate now appear as choices in disguise. This perspective shift adds emotional weight to the entire narrative. It makes past struggles feel even more meaningful in hindsight, because every step contributed to the breaking of destiny itself. And that achievement feels far more powerful than fulfilling prophecy. The hero is no longer a follower of fate. They become the author of a new, uncharted future. This transformation is often the emotional peak of the story. It represents freedom earned through struggle and self-discovery, but it also marks the beginning of a new uncertainty. Because without prophecy, there is no defined destination ahead, only endless possibility shaped by courage and choice. And that possibility is both thrilling and overwhelming. The story shifts from destiny fulfilled to destiny created, and in that shift, true freedom is finally realized. There is a reason prophecies continue to captivate audiences across every generation. They tap into something deeply human, something we all quietly wonder about. What does the future hold, and do we have any control over it? This question exists far beyond fantasy stories and fictional worlds. It lives within our daily decisions, fears, and long-term hopes. Prophecies give that question a voice through dramatic storytelling. They transform abstract uncertainty into something visible and tangible. Suddenly, the unknown future feels like a puzzle waiting to be solved, and humans are naturally drawn to solving puzzles and uncovering meaning. This curiosity is what keeps us engaged with prophecy-driven narratives. We listen carefully, searching for clues hidden within every word. We analyze patterns, predict outcomes, and form our own interpretations. This active engagement makes the story feel personal and immersive. Because we are not just watching, we are participating mentally. We become part of the journey to understand what lies ahead. Prophecies also reflect our desire for purpose and direction in life. Many people want to believe their life has meaning beyond randomness. A prophecy suggests that events are part of a larger plan. That idea can be comforting, even when the outcome is uncertain. It offers a sense of structure in an otherwise unpredictable world. But at the same time, it raises questions about freedom and choice. Do we truly choose our path, or are we following a hidden script? This tension between control and destiny creates emotional depth. It mirrors real-life struggles with responsibility and external influence. We often feel both empowered and limited at the same time. Prophecies capture that contradiction perfectly within fantasy narratives. They allow us to explore these feelings in a safe, imaginative space. Through characters, we experience the weight of destiny without real-world risk. Their victories and failures become reflections of our own inner conflicts. This connection is what makes prophecy so emotionally powerful. It is not just about predicting events, but about exploring identity. Who are we when faced with expectations we did not choose? How do we respond when the future seems already decided? These questions resonate because they are deeply personal and universal. Everyone has experienced moments of uncertainty about their path. Everyone has wondered whether their choices truly matter. Prophecies take those quiet thoughts and turn them into epic narratives. They amplify everyday doubts into world-shaping decisions and consequences. This amplification makes the story feel larger than life. Yet at its core, it remains deeply relatable and human. That balance is what keeps audiences emotionally invested. We see both the fantasy and the reality within the story. Prophecies also create a sense of anticipation and suspense. We want to know if the prediction will come true, and if it does, how it will unfold in unexpected ways. This anticipation keeps us engaged from beginning to end. It creates a narrative thread that ties the entire story together. Every event feels connected to a larger purpose or possibility. Even random moments can gain significance through prophetic context. This sense of connection adds depth and cohesion to storytelling. It makes the narrative feel intentional and carefully crafted, and that intention enhances the overall emotional experience. We feel like we are witnessing something meaningful and important, not just a sequence of events, but a journey with purpose. This feeling is what makes stories memorable and impactful. Prophecies help create that feeling through mystery and meaning. They invite us to think, question, and imagine beyond the obvious. And that invitation is what keeps fantasy stories alive. Because as long as we wonder about the future, prophecy will matter. And as long as it matters, stories will continue to explore it. At the end of every great fantasy story, prophecy leaves a lasting impression. Not because it predicted events, but because it transformed those experiencing it. The journey shaped by prophecy becomes more important than its final outcome. Characters are no longer the same as when they first heard it. They have grown, struggled, questioned, and ultimately discovered their true selves. And that transformation is the true heart of every prophecy-driven narrative, because the prophecy was never just about the future alone. It was about the path taken to reach that uncertain future. Every challenge faced along the way carried deeper meaning. Every decision reflected the tension between fate and personal choice. And through those decisions, characters carved out their own identity. This realization often comes at the story's most powerful moment. When the truth about prophecy is finally revealed and understood, it may be fulfilled, broken, or reinterpreted in unexpected ways. But its true purpose becomes clear in that final understanding. It was never about control, but about discovery and growth. This insight reframes everything that happened before in the story. Moments once seen as destiny now feel like intentional choices, and those choices carry more weight than any prediction ever could. The audience experiences this shift alongside the characters. It creates a powerful emotional connection that lingers beyond the ending, because the story no longer feels distant or fictional. It feels personal, meaningful, and deeply relevant to real life. Prophecies act as bridges between imagination and human experience. They turn fantasy into something that reflects our own inner journeys. And that reflection is what gives stories their lasting power. Long after the final scene, the questions remain in our minds. What truly shapes the future? Fate, belief, or deliberate action? And how much control do we really have over our path? These questions extend far beyond the story's fictional world. They invite us to reflect on our own lives and decisions, to consider the narratives we believe about our future, and to question whether those narratives limit or empower us. This is where fantasy storytelling reaches its greatest potential, not just to entertain, but to inspire thought and self-awareness. Prophecies become tools for exploring deeper philosophical ideas, ideas about identity, purpose, and the nature of choice. These themes resonate because they are universally human. Everyone seeks meaning, direction, and a sense of control. And prophecy offers a way to explore those desires creatively. But the ultimate lesson remains clear by the story's end. Destiny is not something that simply happens to us. It is something we interact with, challenge, and ultimately shape. Even in worlds filled with magic and ancient predictions, choice remains a powerful force that cannot be ignored. Characters who understand this gain true freedom over their path. They move forward not as followers of fate, but as creators of it. And that shift defines the most satisfying story conclusions, because it reflects a truth that feels both empowering and real. We are not bound entirely by what is expected of us. We have the ability to question, adapt, and redefine our direction. Just like the heroes we watch and admire in these stories, their journeys remind us of our own untapped potential, and their struggles mirror the challenges we face every day. This connection is what makes fantasy stories unforgettable. It transforms them from simple tales into meaningful experiences, and it ensures that their impact lasts long after they end. So as the story closes, one truth stands above all others. The future is never fully written, no matter what prophecy claims. And that means the story is always yours to continue writing.